Good evening and welcome to the January 15th, 2020 legislative session of the Town Board. I'll ask that everyone please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'll ask our clerk to please call the roll.
Draw should be here shortly. Cole? Here. LaFountain?
Here.
Moore?
Here.
Ockenden?
Here. Thank you. Tonight we do have a public hearing. That's how we will start off this session this evening. And I'll ask the clerk to please read the legal.
This is for adoption of local law number 1 of 2020 to be known as local law to effect a moratorium and prohibition.
No.
I'm so sorry.
The
What
public
is-
hearing.
This is the
This is
public
it.
hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, please, forgive me. To consider amendments to the zoning ordinance and the mixed-use development manual. The legal notice was published in the Penfield Post on January 2nd, 2020, posted on the town website and town clerk bulletin board. No postcards were mailed due to this being a town-wide accident. I apologize.
Great, thank you. Mr. Horowitz, is this properly before the board?
Yes, it is.
All right, very good. I'm going to recognize staff and planning board and our planner from our planning and engineering office, Zach Nersinger, if he would come forward and just make a couple of general comments about this hearing itself. Zach? I see that Mr. Costello may have stood you up and caught somewhere between Margaritaville and Penfield.
I have it under good authority that he is back in Penfield, though.
Okay, very good.
So that's a good thing.
Very good. Well, I know that we're in very capable hands, Zach, and if you wouldn't mind, just at a very high level, speak to this proposed modification that we have in front of us this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. The proposal before the board this evening is for modification to languages in both the zoning ordinance of the mixed-use district as well as the mixed-use development manual that was adopted. Both items were adopted by the board in 2017. Currently, all mixed-use applications go before the planning board for concept and final site plan review. We have done that for a number of projects thus far. We have done that pretty successfully as well. We also, so that's the process as it is now. The proposal is to, at the beginning stages of a project, in its concept level, would be to bring it before the town board to evaluate the use and how it fits into the mixed-use district as it's written in the ordinance and the manual. If the town board feels that the proposed project warrants additional input, a public information meeting could be scheduled. Similarly, the planning board has done this with multiple sketch plans that act in the same way as a public information meeting. It's been a very open and transparent process thus far, but we do have this proposal before the town board this evening for those modifications. Any questions about the district or the projects that we've seen so far?
Well, I'm going to just ask you to sit close, just in the event that any questions come up. And the purpose, obviously, of the public hearing is to give the public an opportunity to weigh in either for or against, or to offer up any other modifications that they believe is pertinent. So we'll ask our clerk if there's anyone in the audience that has signed up to speak. We'll take them first. If you didn't sign up, don't make a mad rush to the table. We'll give you an opportunity to speak after those that have signed up. And then from there, if the board has any specific questions, Zach, from a staff standpoint, I know you'll be able to handle those. So thank you. Okay. So I'll ask our clerk to please call first speaker.
Kevin Fitzpatrick.
Welcome, Kevin. Thank you for coming out.
I've been here a long time, so
and happy New Year.
Of that. So
Kevin Fitzpatrick. I live at 12 Chatworth Circle North. I'm a Penfield resident. I also was on the mixed-use planning committee. So I guess I would just start out by saying I don't believe that this resolution or amendment is necessary. So I'd be opposed to that, given a few quick facts. One is, I think when I was talking to Zach, we talked that I think it started with Katie, it went through Mark and Zach. So there's a lot of processes that went through. And then we brought the mixed use committee. The mixed use committee was basically local businesses and local community members, planning board members, town board members, and actually town officials that were part of that committee. So I think we did a lot of due diligence in putting that program together. And when we looked at that, one of the discussions, and some of you here were on those committees, when we looked at it and said, who is the right board or has authority to look at that? And when back and forth, we looked at it to say, it's really the town planning board that is looking at that. As a town board, you're able to look at that, but you have all sorts of other duties that you need to be aware of, have to work on. So who has the expertise to do this? We thought it rested in the planning board. So there was probably at least 2 or 3 different discussions that we went through. So fast forward, and Zach said there's been a few proposals that have come through the planning board, and home leasing and their project are next to the YMCA. So I do work for the YMCA, so I was very intimately involved in how that happened, because there needed to be a lot of partnership and back and forth as to make sure that we looked at what the mixed-use district was, how that worked, how that would affect the YMCA, and how we could really make it a community partnership. And through the partnership and through the process and working with the planning board, I think there was a great project that was put together. Now, I can't speak for Brett or for Nelson, but from the conversations that I've had with them in the past, they enjoyed the process. Well, maybe enjoy is a little strong word, but I would say is the process did what it was supposed to. It might have taken a little bit longer than they would have liked, but it was the first one. So we needed to make sure that it was right. And from my standpoint, somebody who was on the mixed-use district planning and then actually on the other side to see it go through to fruition, I think it met all the goals of that were in the original manual and the original goal. I'd also want to remind that the town board that it was actually approved by the town board 2 years ago. So what I'll end with is I'm not sure what has changed. What has changed so much that we need this to be adopted differently than what it was 2 years ago and all the time that was put together. So as my, as my grandfather used to say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So those are my comments.
All right. Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate it. Thank you. Is there anyone else that had signed up to speak?
Not that I saw.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this particular matter? There are other times within the agenda to talk about anything else, but on this particular proposed change, Bill Wickham. Bill, welcome. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Good evening. Bill Wickham. I live at 1787 Fairport 9 Mile Point Road, Penfield, right behind the old Grossman's Nursery. And I'll just echo, I won't bother echoing. I'll reaffirm much of what Kevin said in terms of I was involved in the committee and the development, and I'll just mention too that there was also a paid consultant that was involved in that to help put that together. So it wasn't just a bunch of volunteers doing it. So there's a lot of guidance, and I think there's a lot of time spent. I think it was well done. And I've had several interactions over the year with the planning board, and I grew up on a farm, worked for my dad for all of my childhood life, and then we worked together for a while, and I learned a lot of things from him. And a couple of principles that he always had was, first of all, surround yourself with good people, and I think the planning board does an amazing job, just fantastic. And secondly, Kevin already said it, if it's not broke, don't fix it, because we got other things that we can spend our time on more effectively. And again, I've been before the planning board on a number of times. I've been here when the YMCA project was going on, and the commitment of the folks that serve on that committee is just incredible. They do their homework, they ask great questions, they push back on projects when they should be pushed back on. So for me, I don't see the need for another layer of micromanagement being involved in it. And I don't know. I'm glad I don't serve on the committee because it's almost offensive to me that we're even having this conversation if I were. But anyhow,
All right.
Thank you.
Bill, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board on this matter? I'll ask, before I read the one correspondence that I did receive, I'll ask the board at this point, board, do you have any questions for staff at this time?
No.
Okay, I did receive a letter. This came in from Ralph DiTucci, and he is the manager of Atlantic 250 LLC. And addressed to the town board, please accept this letter as our statement of opposition to the proposed amendments to the Penfield Zoning Ordinance and the Mixed-Use Development Manual, and our request that the Penfield Town Board not approve the proposed resolution discussed at this evening's meeting, December 18th, or excuse me, at the resolution, the board's regular meeting that we had. The resolution proposes that an amendment be made to Chapter 250-5.12-A of the ordinance, and Sections 4.3, the application overview of the manual, to require the mixed-use district development applicants to present a project scope and concept plan to the town board at a working session meeting for its review and approval of the proposed use and conceptual layout. The town board may require the applicant present more details about the project in a subsequent public information meeting, which shall be open to the public for comments. After the town board has approved the proposed uses and conceptual layout, town staff will provide applicants with an application, instructions, and forms of the appropriate planning board application. We believe that the town board acted appropriately in November of 2017 upon the adoption of local law number 3 of 2017 of the current zoning ordinance and mixed-use development manual, and the proposal amendments not be warranted. Consistent with the town board's original stated intent at the time of creating the mixed-use district, this manual empowers the planning board and provides the Penfield Planning Board will act as the board having jurisdiction for all the mixed-use development applications. As you are aware, beginning in 2010, we have presented multiple design concepts for our proposed mixed-use development at 250 and Atlantic Avenue to town staff, the Mixed-Use District Steering Committee, and to the town board and to the planning board. Following a September 6, 2018 public meeting with the planning board for review of our sketch plan application, we received a December 14, 2018 letter from Zach Nersinger from our planning department on behalf of the planning board, which letter stated that the planning board had completed its review of the proposed sketch plan and was generally supportive of the proposed project, and will accept a future application for preliminary overall subdivision and final site plan review. At this time, we also provided appropriate planning board application as provided for in section 4.3 of the manual. If the proposed resolution is approved and the amendments are adopted, our project will be unfairly set back and delayed because we will be required to repeat the process that we have already completed over the course of several years. We appreciate the board's consideration of our opposition in this request, and we are hopeful that you will allow us to continue the process we have undertaken in compliance with the current ordinance and the manual. And respectfully submitted by Ralph DiTucci, and again, manager of Atlantic 250 LLC. I'll ask one last opportunity. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to address the board on this matter? Okay, seeing none, I'll ask the board any final questions, comments for staff on this matter.
Yeah, Mr. Supervisor, just real quick, I just want to follow up on a comment that Mr. Fitzpatrick said, and I agree with him when he talked about community members. And the mixed-use committee was a resident-driven committee, and it also included, I think his reference of community members, to me, that sounded more like neighborhood association representatives that were a part of that committee, which is a good thing. So all the neighborhoods surrounding this particular mixed-use district did have a representative. I think some neighborhood associations had 2 representatives on the committee, but I thought it was worth mentioning that the Mixed Use Committee was a resident-driven committee with recommendations to this board. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further comments, I'll ask Zach, anything additional you believe should be added to the record that wasn't already discussed this evening?
Nothing further from staff.
All right, thank you very much. I will declare this public hearing closed. The next steps, the board will take up discussion of this matter at a future work session. I'll ask that anyone interested just keep an eye on the agenda. Each one of our agendas are published early afternoon on the Friday before a meeting. And I would just ask that you take a look, and if you see that on the agenda, everyone and anyone is welcome to attend to hear that conversation and discussion. They can also tune into Penfield TV and hear that conversation or on our streaming video. So thank you for everyone that participated. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule to weigh in on this matter. Thank you. All right, the board will continue on with communications and announcements, and I'll first recognize our clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Full payments and first installments for the 2020 town and county tax bills are due Monday, February 10th. Any payments made through February 10th will be interest-free. After February 10th, interest will accrue. The town's drop box is located at the east side entrance of the town hall for your convenience. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll next recognize Councilman Akinen.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I have one communication to share tonight regarding recycling. With the holiday season at a close, many residents are looking to dispose of their Christmas trees. The Department of Public Works is accepting non-artificial trees for recycling at the highway garage located at 1607 Jackson Road. Trees can be dropped off at any time, being placed just to the right side of the facility gates. There's a sign labeled Christmas trees. All trees will be ground up and made part of the mulch pile, which is available on the west side of the Town Hall complex. Thank you for choosing to recycle your Christmas tree to benefit our community. And also, if you have a set of holiday lights that no longer work, remember they can too be recycled. However, they should be taken to places such as Eco Park at 10 Avion Drive, Rochester 14624, and not placed in curbside recycling bins. Mixed in with hundreds of pounds of material, the long strands of cords tend to get wrapped up around the machinery at the Monroe County Recycling Center and cause significant damage. Many hardware stores will also accept these lights for recycling. Thank you.
Thank you. I have one announcement. That's to remind all of our residents that the town offices will be closed this coming Monday, the 20th, in observance of Martin Luther King Day. However, the Penfield Library will be open their normal business hours. Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. The public is invited to join the Penfield Recreation for a family winter snow night out on Friday, February 7th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Harris Whalen Park. Come play in the snow under the February snow moon. This unique nighttime experience at Harris Whalen Park will include snow games, building snow sculptures, sledding in the moonlight, snowshoeing or hiking on moonlit trails, refreshments, and staying warm by a fire. Participants are asked to bring a flashlight or headlamp for the snowshoeing and sledding. The event is free and open to all ages. It's sponsored by Penfield Recreation, Penfield Town Board, and Wegmans, and our wellness partner, Wegmans again. For more information, please call Penfield Recreation at 340-8655, option 0. That's 340-8655, option 0. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councilwoman Cole.
I have one announcement. Is Penfield Community Victory Garden will host a seed swap and seed starting workshop on Saturday, January 26, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Penfield Community Center. Garden designer Carol Southby will present a slideshow of perennials for early spring bloom. Everyone is welcome to bring collected seeds to share as an option too. This event is co-sponsored by Penfield Community Victory Garden and the Flower City Garden Network and is free and open to the public. Pre-registration is requested by emailing flowercitygardennetwork@gmail.com. That's it.
Okay, very good. Thank you. We'll move on to public participation. There are three ways that you can do that if you're here in the audience, so you can address the board on any matter at the podium. You can call in at 340-8771, or you can log on at penfield.org. I don't see anyone in the audience. I did, however, receive one correspondence. This came in last week, but was just shared with me. And this is from a Deborah Beyer-Root on Hilltop Drive. Her comment is that on January 6th and less than an inch of snow, streets practically clear. Why are you plowing the neighborhoods? Such a waste of money. Thank you, Deborah. I'm going to turn this over tomorrow to our Director of Public Works and have him follow up with you on that. Seeing no further communications, we'll continue on with our agenda. I'll ask the board, is there any additions or deletions to the agenda for this evening?
Mr. Supervisor, I have one addition to tonight's agenda. It is entitled 2019 Budget Transfer.
I'll second that.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded, and I'm just going to ask Mr. Moore, is that identified by chance? So I think what happens is that this is actually Resolution 054. And so is already on the agenda.
Ah, okay, I'm sorry.
So-
I'm sorry.
There is no need for that, so because that is on the agenda, we'll continue to move forward. Seeing no other additions or deletions, we'll move on to our minutes. We have the December 18th, 2019 minutes before us and would entertain a motion of approval on those minutes.
I move that the minutes of December 18th be approved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I'll ask, is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote on the minutes.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Akadin.
Aye.
4 ayes.
Thank you. Since the last meeting, has the town board, town attorney, or town clerk received any petitions? Okay, seeing none, move on to resolution by function, and we will begin with law and finance.
Setting a public hearing for adoption of local law number 1 of 2020 to be known as a local law to effect a moratorium and prohibition within the town of Penfield of public golf course redevelopment.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas the town board of the town of Penfield wishes to consider adopting a proposed local law number 1 of 2020, which would amend and extend the moratorium and prohibition of public golf course redevelopment on any real property located within the town of Penfield. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Penfield shall hold a public hearing at the Penfield Town Hall on February 5th, 2020, at 7 p.m. on said date to consider said proposal and to hear all persons interested in the question of this adoption of local law 1 of 2020, which would amend and extend a moratorium and prohibition of public golf course redevelopment on real property located in the town of Penfield. This local law shall apply to 0.62 acres of vacant land situated between 1875 and 1885 Baird Road, adjacent to the real property commonly known as Shadow Lake Golf Course property. Thank you.
Thank you. Discussion on this resolution. See no discussion or further discussion, I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Akadin.
Aye.
4 ayes. 2019 budget transfers.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas transfers of funds are necessary for end of the year reconciliations, whereas the town board desires to have an up-to-date budget in relation to current income and expenditures. Now therefore be it resolved that the attached budget transfer be approved from library, books, to equipment in the amount of $54. Thank you.
Thank you. Discussion. See no further discussion, roll call vote, please.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Akadin.
Aye.
4 ayes. Authorization for supervisor to sign recreation contracts.
So moved.
Second.
This resolution authorizes the town supervisor to sign 9 recreation contracts, and they're all dealing with the upcoming programs in the spring, winter-spring of 2020.
Okay, great. Further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, roll call vote, please.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Akadin.
Aye.
4 ayes.
All right. I'll ask the board, is there any old business to come before the board this evening? Seeing none. Is there any new business to come before the board this evening? Again, seeing none. It's the second opportunity for public participation. Seeing that there are no calls or no one in the audience, we'll move to the next item, which is executive session. I'm going to call for a short executive session on a legal matter right after this meeting. And I would ask if I would have a motion to support that.
I will move that, Mr.
Thank you.
Supervisor.
In a second.
I will second that.
Thank you. This board will go into a short executive session after the close here. And there being no further business to come before the January 15, 2020 legislative session of the town board, the board stands adjourned at 7:27 p.m. Thank you for everyone that participated. Thank you to Penfield TV.